I'm on a mission to platinum as many games as I can, and in today's video I took on Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus. It was originally released in September 2002 for the PS2. Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus was developed by Sucker Punch Productions, introducing players to the iconic Master Thief Sly and in his first adventures. The total trophies for this game is 37, including the platinum. I've always been familiar with Sly 3 Honor Amongst Thieves, but I actually never went back and played where it all started, so I figured it was time to finally experience Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus for myself, and instead of just playing the game, I wanted to platinum this classic as well and get the full Sly experience. We're immediately introduced as Sly. Bentley tells us that Sly is able to pull off certain movesets when seeing these blue highlights. Our mission here at the beginning is to collect files from the police HQ. We stealthily make our way to the safe by avoiding lasers and using abilities that only Sly is able to pull off. Once we reach the safe, Bentley is able to give us the pin to it, so we're able to open and collect the files. Just when we thought we could easily leave, we are stopped by Carmelita the Fox, who is trying to stop us from escaping with the files. This segment wasn't too hard, but is used to assess your reaction time to dodge her bullets. As you can see, it takes a bit of time for it to reach, so you're able to jump over and escape into the van easily. From there, we are introduced to Sly and how he comes from a line of master thieves. This is why he's able to pull off certain special abilities. The abilities come from his ancestors, which have been recorded into the Thievius Raccoonus. Unfortunately, the evil gang known as the Fiendish Five killed his father and took the book. Each villain ripped pages from the book, in which they are able to use that to create crimes around the world. Sly was then placed into the orphanage where he was able to meet Murray and Bentley. Bentley was the brains of the group, and Murray was the brawn of the group. With this new group formed, together they look to avenge Sly's father and retrieve back the Thievius Raccoonus from the villains. With our goal set, our first villain that we take on is Sir Raleigh the Frog, who is located in the coast of Wales. And this is where the game starts, as we are dashed out of the van into this introductory level of the area. Not too long after that, this is where I get my first trophy, get a clue, which was to collect 5 clue balls. The starting level does a good job introducing us to these enemies that we faced in this area and the type of weapons that they possess, varying from hammers and throwing stars and flamethrowers. At this point I wasn't sure what these clue balls were used for, as I thought these were collectibles. I made sure to collect all 20 for the level. When you reach the end of the level, you come with this safe, which you cannot open unless you collect all the clue bottles, which gives you a page from one of Sly's book, and in this one we unlock the dash ability. As I was at the end, I made sure to continue and to collect the key, which was able to exit the area. We're introduced to the first hub area of the world, which has many levels, as you can see. You can technically do these in any order that you wish. Some of the levels require you to do platform as well to get to the area. I entered into my first level, which is where I noticed these 3 icons. The 3 icons represents the keys, vaults and master thief challenges. The first 2 is where most of the trophies come from, as they require you to collect keys, open up the vaults to continue getting pages from the Thievius Raccoonus, as well as defeat bosses for the level. Another thing I also noticed in the first area was this horseshoe and what it does. These horseshoes are called lucky charms, in which they could be used to help Sly in many ways. Essentially in this game you are one hit by all the enemies, and these horseshoes help in many ways. Having the silver horseshoe allows you to get hit once, allowing for a second chance. However, if you have a horseshoe and you already collect another horseshoe, it turns into a gold one. This essentially means that you can afford to get hit a few times before actually dying, so you're not one hit essentially. With that, I was able to do the level by collecting all the clue bottles, as well as test my platforming skills, which helped me to unlock the vault at the end of the level. This new ability that I unlocked was the roar ability. This essentially helps you move faster, and which can be used in many ways, and for this level I was able to outrun the lasers. The game essentially isn't that hard, but in some areas it can get a bit stressful and intense. For example, in this level I had to dodge the laser jumping from these lily pads to lily pads, as well as collect clue bottles, all while trying to not get caught by the lasers or the lights, as it means game over then, as they turn into fire. From there I was able to open up another vault for the area, in which I unlocked the ability where you're able to locate clue bottles and breakables. This was really helpful as quite a lot of the times I had to run back and forth on the same level trying to make sure I've located all the clue bottles for the area, so I was able to open up the vault. This ability makes finding clue balls easier as I was able to get through the levels done quickly as possible and able to open the vaults as well. With these new abilities that I've already have, I was able to fly through each level, making sure the keys were collected as well as all the clue bottles, especially in the hidden areas, to open the vaults for each area. By doing that, I was able to unlock my second trophy, which was to open all vaults for the area. I made my way to the last level of the area for the key, and this one just showed a key icon. These essentially means that these are minigame areas as there's no vaults to open or clue bottles to collect. The first minigame mission for this area is where I had to shoot the treasures and the crabs and make sure that the crabs does not escape with the treasures. In doing so, even if one leaves with a treasure, that resulted in a game over. This took a good few attempts to do, but once I was able to do it, I was able to get my third trophy, which was to collect all the keys for the area. I was able to face off with the boss, Rayleigh the Pompous Frog. Essentially, this boss is quite easy to do, but it took me a good few times to do as you had to be patient and time your attacks in order to defeat him. Some of the attacks you had to react quick like here, and once you're able to get all of his attacks down, I was able to defeat the boss and get my next trophy, which was to defeat Riley the Frog. With Riley defeated, we were able to collect a few pages from the book, and in this one we are able to collect the Ninja Spire technique from one of his ancestors. We make our way to the second Fiendish Five member, which is Mugshot. For this, he is located in Utah, which is in USA. We then find ourselves in an introductory section of Utah, USA, and in here we are able to take new heights with the new ability from the ninja technique we got from Riley. Unfortunately, the ability to locate the clue bottles are gone and it was only for that area, so it took a bit of time finding all the clue bottles in the introductory section as this one was found at a very hard location, which you cannot see easily at first and is also can be missable. After finishing the intro section, I finally understood how the game works. You have an intro section, then you're entered into the hub world, find keys for the first half, then continue finding keys for the second half before fighting the boss for the area. Mugshot's segment introduces us to a bit more minigames. In this one, I was in a turret and I had to defend Murray whilst he was making his way up to the top to where the key was. This one was actually not that bad and I enjoyed it. Unfortunately, the second minigame I didn't enjoy quite so much. The racing minigame in Sly was honestly one of the most painful part of the game and for not a good reason. Sly is usually all about the smooth platforming and stealth, but suddenly with the minigame you're thrown into a chunky racing section with awkward controls and zero room for errors. The controls were so bad when turning, it was like quite drifty and I often found myself getting stuck in places quite a lot. This resulted in me having to restart the game as I knew that I just wasn't going to get the first place. So because of this, it took a good few attempts and if I remember correctly, it took me 30 minutes to actually get through the level, compared to the other games which only just took a few attempts. The one thing that I liked about Mugshot World was actually getting chased by Carmelita. For me, it was one of the moments that instantly raises the tension. Up until the point, you're used to taking your time sneaking around, but suddenly you're forced to move fast and react. But from time to time, I often found that her shots were a bit slow, so in areas it was a bit easy to take my time and to collect things. I was able to unlock another trophy, the perfect date, which was to complete the area without falling or taking any damage. I realized I missed a clue bottle in which I went back into the level to collect, so I was able to open up the vault which allowed me to find all the clue bottles for the area. Another trophy which was unintentional, it was to drop these cards which had the clue bottles on them. Naturally you'd get them if your main aim is to collect the clue bottles for all the areas and to open the vaults. Clue bottles for this area were kinda bad because I was missing a good few and it wasn't until later I accidentally stumbled upon this. Yeah. With the remaining clue balls collected, I was able to open the vault for the area, which means Sly doesn't take any damage or death from water this time. This was really helpful as from time to time I often found myself falling into the water easily. Moving on from that, the rest of Mugshot's world really started to fall into place. I started making real progress. Each mission felt smoother, and instead of struggling, it was more about finishing what I already started. At this point, everything was starting to come together. I was able to collect all the keys and open up all the vaults for the area before making my way onto Mugshot. Finally getting to Mugshot, it felt like a big moment for me, but it didn't exactly go as smoothly as I thought it would be compared to my first fight with Riley. At first, it seemed simple enough, but I quickly realized the fight was way less forgiving than I expected, and I ended up dying. A lot. Most of it just came down to how punishing the area really was. The second phase was where it really started to fall apart, and I was really dying and struggling a lot. This room is so tight, I was barely able any space to move. One bad step sends you straight through the gaps of the floor. Half the time I wasn't even losing to Mugshot, I was falling to my death mostly. I started panicking more because of the amount of times I was dying and to the smallest of things. It turned into this cycle of getting close, making one small mistake, and having to start all over again. And after a few attempts, it definitely started to test my patience. But once I finally got past that, the third phase was actually more easier compared to the first two. It was still a tense area, but at the point I had a rhythm going, and it became more about staying calm and not throwing the run. The third phase consisted of hitting these mirrors so the light shines on him, all while navigating through the ropes as well as dodging his attacks. I really made sure to take my utmost time on this area and so I don't die and start all over again doing the first two phases, as I found those were a pain. After defeating him, it was more satisfying, and what made it even more satisfying was earning that trophy for defeating him. Mugshot's pages teach Sly the ability to rail, walk, and slide, which was essentially useful for the next area. Our next Fiendish Five member who we take on is Miss Ruby, located in the swamps of Haiti. Miss Ruby's area in the game is where it really starts to test you. The enemies here are way more aggressive and there's a lot less room for mistakes. You have got these fast moving guards and tricky platforming sections that can catch you off guard when you're not careful. They also make it difficult when they come in groups as well, as you need to attack them quickly, so make sure you're not hit, as you are one hit in this game. And there's also a snake chase, which honestly adds a whole new level of pressure. You're forced to keep moving, timing your jumps perfectly whilst a massive snake is right behind you. I keep jumping into the water a lot because I keep panicking, and luckily for me I have that ability to, so I don't take damage in the water. That's what pushed me a bit forward, but other than that it was a pressured game. Once I reached the end of the level, I opened the vault, which gave me the ability to scan info from the enemies. This ability in itself is not really important, nor does it do anything special or add to the attack moves. It's just partly for one of the trophies, so I made sure to scan all the enemies whenever I can to make sure to get one of the trophies for the end. Despite the area being difficult, I did have fun in this area, as there was an introduction to these stationary turret missions where you're trying to shoot down waves of enemies. It sounds quite simple, but it can get overwhelming fast, as there's a lot happening on the screen, and if you miss a few targets, things can spiral really quickly. There was also another mini game in this area where you needed to hit the chickens as well as avoid the ones that has the bombs on themselves to get the key for the area. With that being said, the only trophies I earned in Miss Ruby's area was to just collect all the keys and then open up all the vaults. The boss fight against Miss Ruby is easily one of the most unique ones, and honestly a bit stressful as well at first. Instead of the usual platforming, it turns into this rhythm-based battle where you have to match the buttons input perfectly. It sounds quite simple, but the timing can be really unforgiving, especially as the pace starts to pick up towards the end. If you mess up slightly, it throws you off completely. I found myself restarting a good few times trying to stay in sync, because once you lose the rhythm, it's quite hard to recover. After a few attempts, I was able to get the flow into things and hit the buttons cleanly, and it felt like a performance rather than a boss fight, thus earning me another trophy, as well as pages from the Thievius Raccoonus, where in here the ability that Sly is able to pull off is the invisibility, which comes in handy when trying to move past guards, especially avoid lights and lasers, to get those hard to reach clue bottles. We move on to the fourth Fiendish Five member, which is taking on the Panda King. He is located in the mountains of China. In Panda King's area, there are only 4 minigame levels. What I mean by this is in the minigame areas, you're only able to collect keys, nothing else, no vaults, so there's no time trials. Technically, one of them is a proper level, but you can't open the vault yet until after the end when you defeat the owl. So I count this as a mini game because I can only collect key for this at the moment. Each area has 7 levels, and the mini games get more and more as it progresses further. Tide Terror only had 1 mini level, whereas the one that we're now Panda King has 4, so only 3 complete jobs, where you can collect vaults, keys, and there's a time trial for the area. With that being said, the only trophies that I was able to collect in this area was to collect mainly the keys and open up the vaults. However, I did get 1 extra trophy which I didn't need to get later on. The only extra trophy that I managed to get in here was when you reach the Flaming Temple of Flame with these monkey nunchuck creatures. They were annoying. I found them annoying or something, so I wanted to like see if I could hit them off, which I could, and unintentionally unlocked another trophy. With the area consisting of mini games mostly, I was able to reach the boss area quite quickly, and this boss area was quite easy considering it was a second last Fiendish Five member. I kinda was expecting a bit of a tougher boss fight, but this one was quite easy and I made swift work of this boss fight. He initially throws flames at you, which you can easily dodge whilst you're on your way to him to make the attack, and he says his attacks out loud like you would expect in an anime, so I kinda had a rough idea of what kind of attack he would do and just tried to plan to dodge, which was easy to do. With that, I was able to defeat the Panda King quite quickly and I was able to get the remaining pages of the book, and this is where you put turrets onto the van. We are now reaching the end of the game where I take on the final member of the Fiendish Five, which is Clockwork. This area consists of everything being different, nothing like how you would expect in the previous areas. This ranges from using the turrets on the van, chasing off these sand creatures, using Bentley to hack machines, as well as playing as Carmelita for the first time, in which I was able to understand why her attacks are slow and all over the place because the camera was quite quick, as well as doing platforming skills. Personally, the platforming in the final area is the toughest in the entire game. By this point, the game really stops holding back. The jumpings are tighter, the margin for error are way smaller, and one mistake could send you all the way back. And I forgot to mention, in here, there's no checkpoint. So in a level, you have to do it in like all in one playthrough. Otherwise, you would have to start from the beginning of that level, which adds more to the difficulty. I realized it wasn't just about timing. You had to be completely focused. You can't rush anything because the second you do, you risk falling into the fire, which took me some time to realize because I was making silly mistakes, and I often found myself unable to outrun the flame rising. At last, after I was able to reach the top of the mountain, I was able to earn another trophy for this area. This one was a bit glitchy as it wasn't popping there and then you had to wait a bit at the beginning before getting the jetpack to reach the boss. Once you get the jetpack to reach the boss, the owl was really no joke and it was a difficult boss to fight as you would expect for an ending level. It consisted of 4 phases. This was really adding to the toughness and the difficulty of the level because it consisted of 4 phases. If you die at any point, even at the last second, you have to start all the way at the beginning of it from when you reach the jetpack flying upwards to shoot Clockwork down. This boss battle throws everything at you, or as it includes a bit of a platforming skill as well towards the end, which is also quite intense in itself. Each phase tests a different skill, making it feel like a true final exam in itself. When you reach Clockwork at the top, and it's quite fast and an aggressive showdown that pushes your timing and reflexes to the limit. When you reach the very end to Clockwork, all you need to do is whack him a good few times till that health bar goes down, and then you get that trophy, Eternal Enemy, which is for defeating Clockwork. You also automatically earn another trophy, which was Oh No He Didn't, for stealing a kiss. With all the bosses defeated and all the clue bottles collected, as well as all the keys collected, I remembered I had only one left to do. So I went back to that level in China to unlock that vault and I was able to get Safecracker, which was to unlock all the vaults for that area. Now that everything has been collected, all the main trophies have been collected, I was able to do the miscellaneous one, which were all level selected depending on the area as well. Some of these trophies lean heavily into combat challenges. You'll need to take down enemies cleanly, sometimes without taking a single hit or being caught, which focuses you to really understand the enemy pattern and to quickly react instead of just rushing in. Timing becomes everything. One mistake and you have to restart the counter. Others are all about movement and precision platforming. These can be surprisingly tough, especially in areas with narrow beams, moving platforms or hazards below. You're expected to chain jump perfectly, land exactly where you are intended, and to stay in control even if the camera or level design makes things awkward. There's also some cleanup style trophies that push you to revisit earlier levels, but this time you're not just exploring, you're optimizing. You're moving more faster, making fewer mistakes, and approaching the section with much deeper understanding of how the game works now that you have got majority of all the abilities that Sly has from his ancestors. At this stage, the difficulty doesn't come from the new mechanics, but from execution. The game expects near perfect runs in certain moments, and that's where the real challenge lies to unlock some of these trophies. Especially in areas where I had to do the level without hitting a single enemy, that's what makes the game a bit challenging, and I had to redo a good few times. Doing some of the trophy cleanups really bring the whole journey to a full circle, proving you've mastered every aspect of the game. With all the miscellaneous trophies now collected, it is truly time for the final test, which is doing these Master Thief challenges. They weren't kidding when it said Master Thief jumps, because you really need to know how to do the level, all the shortcuts and everything, and know how to do everything in precise precision, otherwise it can cost you the area. This is what makes it tough doing these thief challenges, is how it demands perfection across the entire level. And it's not just about knowing the route, it's about maintaining momentum from start to finish, and you have to do it confidently, chaining the actions together smoothly without breaking the flow. I was able to do some areas quite quickly and swiftly as I knew them very well and I knew the but in other areas I really had to know the level quite well in order to pull it off smoothly, quickly and effectively to get that Master Thief challenge done. With that I was able to get the trophy Thievius Speedius and also that sweet platinum. And with that the platinum for Sly 1 is officially completed. Overall, Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus really stands out as an incredible game for its time. Even though it was released back in the early 2000s, it still holds up surprisingly well even in today, especially in the gameplay variety, level design and the style. It really mixes stealth, platforming and unique missions type in a way that it feels really creative, and you can see how it became a start of something of a strong franchise. Even now, playing it for a platinum run, it doesn't feel outdated. It feels like a solid foundation for what the series has become. It's simple in some ways, but it's also what makes it effective. Overall, it's a great starting point for the franchise and definitely one of those classic platformers that still deserves to be played even in today. Thank you for watching the video, and if you made it to the end, I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video.